Welcome to the ID Den podcast, the show for teachers ready to step outside the classroom and into their next chapter. I'm your host, Charity Bosch, and I know firsthand how overwhelming it can feel to leave teaching behind. Whether you're exploring instructional design, navigating corporate culture, or just figuring out your first steps, this show is your roadmap. Each episode will tackle the real challenges, share practical strategies, and prove that your teaching skills are exactly what the world needs, just in a different setting. Let's turn that classroom expertise into your career advantage. So let's start by talking about why this podcast exists. I created this podcast because I saw a lot of teachers that are still feeling stuck and undervalued in their careers, and I can really relate to that because I used to be one of them. I see that there's a gap between the classroom and corporate world that make it hard for teachers to figure out how to transition successfully. There's a lot of jokes and memes out there around corporate life. There's a lot of jokes and memes out there about classroom life and being a teacher, and a lot of them are very different because the experience you have in the classroom is really different from the experience you'll have in the corporate world. And especially if the classroom is all you've ever known, sometimes that can feel really daunting and scary to go into this corporate world. So I've found that to help ease that, teachers need a roadmap for this transition, and I am able to help provide that, especially for a transition into instructional design, because that's where I went after I left the classroom and where my expertise lies. I'm someone who gets it and feel very strongly about this. It is a big passion of mine. I still have a lot of teacher friends, and I get so sad seeing them so burnt out, so undervalued, so tired of being in that environment. And I just feel like I was someone that needed to step up and speak about this issue. The problems that I see a lot with teachers are that they don't realize just how valuable their skills are. There are a lot of teaching skills that you have that are so amazing in corporate world or higher education instructional design, and so needed. I have worked with a lot of people, both in the corporate space that have been teachers and who are not. And I can tell you so confidently that those that have a teaching background are excelling because of a lot of the skills that you gain through teaching are needed and constantly used in the corporate world. I can understand that people get overwhelmed by translating that teaching experience and having a hard time. I know I did when I left the classroom. I felt like, well, I'm just a teacher. I've been working with these kids. I have been doing this one thing, and that's all the experience I have. How am I going to go and do something different? And the truth is, being just a teacher is not even remotely being just a teacher. There are so many skills that you have that are going to translate so nicely, but I've been there and understand that it can feel overwhelming knowing how to translate those things and communicate that appropriately. The corporate world feels foreign and intimidating, and I know that imposter syndrome can start creeping in before you even start on the transition into a new career, or even just start trying to figure out what you want to do. If you want to stay in teaching, if you don't, what's next? All of that can get hit by this feeling of that imposter syndrome. So, what this podcast is going to offer is real talk about these transition challenges. I'm going to share my own experiences. I'm going to share different things that I see pop up often. I'm going to share different ways to overcome these challenges. I will also share practical tips that you can actually use, not just speak in words. I'm going to share things that have helped me and that have helped others and that can help you, whether that's tips to help you navigate a transition, whether that's to instructional design or not, tips specific to instructional design, if that's the route that you feel you want to take. I'm going to fill this podcast up with a lot of actionable tips that you can take away immediately and use. I am going to focus quite a bit on instructional design, but not every episode is going to be specifically focused on it, just because some things, especially when it comes to transition tips, are agnostic. It's not just having to do with instructional design. You could be going to sales, you could be going to marketing, you could be going all sorts of different places. And those tips are going to apply in any situation. But because this is the ID Den, we are going to talk a lot about instructional design and different instructional design opportunities and tips. I'm also going to provide proof that your teaching skills transfer beautifully. There are so many things that a teacher does in the day-to-day that you don't even realize you're doing. You just think you're teaching, that transfer into corporate life, higher education so well. And I hear from people all the time that they want to hire teachers because teachers are amazing at so many different things. And we'll get into those different things in different episodes throughout this podcast. I also want to start creating a community of people that are wanting to make the jump so that we can all support each other. I know how much, especially in this day and age that's very online and digital, that we sort of lack that community feeling. And that's something that I really wanted when I set out to do the Instructional Design Den, or ID Den, that I wanted to create a community that people could come and not feel judged, not feel like they're doing something alone, trying to figure it out on their own, that can all band together and go through this life, because it is very easy to feel isolated. A lot of people are working from home nowadays. I know I do. And it can feel like you're just the only one out there, when in reality you're not. And that is part of my goal here, is to create this community of people that are trying to do this thing together. There are some different categories that the episodes will be kind of clumped into. The first one is talking about pain points. The episodes that are on pain points are going to address common struggles that I see teachers have when they are trying to decide to leave the classroom, when they are in the process of leaving the classroom, after they've left the classroom. So we'll talk about some of those pain points, and I'll give you some tangible tips to overcome them. Like I said before, I will also have some episodes that are fully devoted to instructional design tips. Again, this is where my expertise lies. I've been in this industry for several years now, and so I've discovered a lot throughout my experience of things that are overlooked, things that are spent too much time on that don't need to be. And so this is going to be those episodes where I really dive into my expertise to give you things so that if you're embarking on the instructional design route, you have those things going into it and can feel successful in interviews, on job applications, when you actually get jobs and start doing it. Those are going to really help you succeed and excel quickly. Another category are those transition tips. So navigating this new environment of not being in the classroom anymore. How do you even get started? If you want to do freelancing, what does that look like? How do you get clients? This is going to be a pretty broad category because it encompasses a lot, but I want to make sure that you have what you need to feel successful transitioning out of the classroom. Because I'll tell you what, I didn't have anything, and it was so daunting, and I didn't even know where to start. I didn't know what to do. I felt very lost, and that's something that I'm really passionate about, is helping other people not feel that way. So those episodes are going to be devoted to those things. Again, those are going to be a lot more agnostic. It doesn't have to be instructional design jobs that they'll apply to. It will kind of be a little bit more broader and apply to a lot of different things. And the next category is teaching to ID. These episodes are going to be about leveraging your background specifically as a teacher and how it applies to instructional design. There's a lot of teaching skills that can apply to any sort of role, but then there are also a lot of teaching skills that go so nicely straight into instructional design, which honestly is one of the reasons why I chose that as my career after the classroom, because there are so much instructional design things that teachers are already doing, and it's kind of a nice pivot into that lane after leaving the classroom. And then finally, the last category are success stories. I want to bring people onto this podcast who have proof that it's possible. They are ones that were teachers, were principals, were in that education space and have left and started careers in a completely different industry. Again, instructional design is really related, so it's not always going to be instructional design. I want you to see that there's more out there that teachers are really great at, that you don't have to feel stuck in the classroom or feel like you have to get like a whole nother degree just to leave. There are a lot of people that have left without getting other degrees, and I want to bring them on and kind of show you that it is possible, have them share some of their tips, share their story, their experience, things to help you see that it is possible if that's something that you decide you want to do. You can expect new episodes to drop every Monday. They're going to be a lot of solo episodes with just me talking in your ear. But like I said, especially with those success stories, but some of the other categories as well, I want to get guests on here to share their things, their insights. I know some great instructional design experts that can pop on and help lend some tips and things in that lane. I know other people that are life coaches, career coaches, people that can help with the transition specifically, and maybe overcoming imposter syndrome and kind of the mindset issues that you could run into. So there will be plenty of guests on this podcast as well, but a lot of episodes with just me yapping away. My goal is to have these episodes be in the 20 to 30 minute range, because I know that for a lot of people, you're obviously commuting still. You're not working from home as a teacher in most cases. You are driving to a school. And while your commute might be nice and you could ride your bike to your job, I do know that a lot of people still have to drive. And so aiming for that 20 to 30 minute to make these a little bit more digestible during your commute, not take up a ton of your time. They're really going to be no fluff, actionable content that you can dive into and get going right away. And so in the next episode, I will talk about my full transition story. I'll go into kind of what led up to it, where I started to feel like I didn't want to be a teacher anymore, where I wanted to leave the classroom. I grappled with that for a few years before I actually left, so we'll get into that. But this will kind of be our first success story, is sharing my own. So that being said, that's what you can expect from me here. And make sure that you subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Share this with your teacher friends that are also considering change. And you can always connect with me on Instagram at the ID Den. Your classroom expertise is exactly what the world needs. And you are so much more than a teacher, and your skills go way beyond the classroom. And my goal is to help you see that.